What's up, y'all? I was talking to myself and I was like, oh, I think this is a thing. Because I've heard this twice now. And I'm like, oh, I think we're about to be sorting through this. So I was listening to Kimberly Foster talk about Meghan Markle and Mariah Carey's interview on Meghan Markle's podcast, Archetypes. And, they were having a conversation about being biracial women and what that's meant for them. And Meghan Markle shared that she didn't experience being treated like a black woman until she decided to go on ahead and start fluffing around with that prince. And I don't know how many people remember when the Oprah interview came out, but I did a What's Up, y'all about that. Feel free to go back and review my remarks there, because I feel like they super resonated with her disclosure. But one of the things that Kimberly shared in her recap was she was saying that Gen Xers and Boomers, really be into trying to force people to say that they're black. Really into choose one. And Meghan Markle was also saying that she got a lot of flack because people expect her to choose, and and so anyway, she shared that. And then I just saw this post, totally separate subject, from my homie Amber Abundance. By the way, anybody I'm mentioning who I listen to, you should be following them because they're brilliant and they have great takes on the world, which is why I listen to them. So Amber Abundance had posted in her stories about a book, I believe, that's coming out. And I think, I don't know if this was an excerpt from the book, but in the excerpt of the book said something to the effect of I'm a straight woman who's dating a woman, and labels are complicated, right? And then I decided to go and click on the page and look a little more deeply, and apparently this person, Mamie Blue, perhaps is this author's name, has a book coming out, and I think that part of the book is about this relationship that she has with this woman. But she briefly shares how she's telling people that she's, fallen in love, and people are just like, oh, so you're gay? And she's like, no, not really. And, and it was this conversation about these labels, right? And again, labels, many conversations. There are What's Up, y'alls in the archives about labels. There are all of these subjects or things that I've talked about, but they keep coming up. And so, I have new ideas that pop in my head. Here's what I think about labels. I don't care what you call yourself. I have zero interest in what you call yourself. I am curious, and I hope that you too would be willing to be curious about why you call yourself whatever you call yourself, or why you do not. And I've said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it again, and I really have said it so many times. It's very rarely about what we do, and it's almost always about why we do it. If we can get to what's underneath, then we'll actually be getting to the truth, to the authenticity of what's operating inside of us. Because here's the deal. I don't care if people who have a black parent and are mixed with some other identity call themselves biracial, or choose to identify with whatever. I don't care about that. I am curious if you're curious about what has you aligned with what. I am curious about whether or not you have questioned or really sat with what is it about being fully identified as black makes me uncomfortable. And I know a lot of people are like, race is one side of my family, and right, I hear that. But also, if we have an analysis and an understanding of whiteness as an assignment rather than an identity, right? Like an assignment, a arbitrary assignment of identity, specifically created to reinforce privilege and power, then have you asked yourself why you would want to be aligned with an identity that most people, certainly in my radical tradition, are asking people to separate from? Sure, I mean, go harder then. Like, if you're going to be specific, I am Black and Irish, right? I'm Black and Lithuanian. I'm like, get specific. But if you're just like, I'm Black and white, why? Why would you be distilling your identity down to stay in alignment with a position of power and privilege? Why? And if there is an interest in, because part of the reason why we're still holding on to Blackness is because as long as anti-Blackness exists, as long as there is a world that is, virulently opposed to Blackness, then somebody's got to hold on to it such that we are not eradicated, which has been the attempt of anti-Blackness once we could no longer be enslaved. So I'm still Black because as long as there's a world that pretends that something's wrong with being Black, I'm here to be Black as a political identity that speaks to my commitment to liberation for people who are of African descent, melanated, and who have been shipped around the globe. That's why I'm Black, right? And if I were mixed with some other identity, then my question would be, what is my relationship with that identity? And what's the relationship of that identity in the larger social world? Because that tells me about how I should be in relationship with it. What kind of questions I should be asking. What sorts of things need to be uplifted and what sorts of things need to fall away, right? And so it's not about what you identify as. It's about why. And can you get into the complexity of that? Same with I'm not gay, right? Like, I'm sleeping with a woman. Cool. But the question is, have you asked yourself, is there something about gayness and its construction inside of my mind, inside of my experience, inside of my socialization that has me want to continue to distance myself from it, even while engaging in a relationship that the societal framework would label gay? Right? And what is that for? Is it for safety? But at least tell yourself that. Is it for your own internalized homophobia? Is it, is it just because you eschew labels and actually you just fall in love with who you fall? Like, cool, whatever it is. But get curious about what it is. Get honest about what it is. Tell yourself the truth. Even if you're not going to tell the rest of us, tell yourself the truth, right? And then that way we're at least living more authentic, connected lives and not like gaslighting each other, pretending like, this thing doesn't matter when we know in the social context of the world, it absolutely does. In your individual personal choice, it doesn't. But guess what? Your individual personal choice is interconnected with the rest of the human beings you share the planet with, right? And so I guess I'm always asking us like I said, I long for a day when we live beyond labels, right? But we have to eradicate what we created as a result of those labels before they can dissolve. Otherwise, we're just invisibilizing a system and structure that still exists, right? And that's not what we're here to do. So I just want to offer, get curious, like call yourself what you want to call yourself, but tell the truth at least to yourself about why. It'll help all of us get a little closer, at least to our own personal freedom.